Tibbles, how are you today?
Oh, not bad, thanks.
So it looks like you got...
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Just wanted to, we have two positions that I'd like to fill. One, we have one individual who is, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, I wouldn't say on leave, but he has, his wife has some medical issues and he's unable to work. So we're looking to bring someone on to be able to fill his role.
Okay.
And then we have one other person who would be filling the similar position as an equipment operator, as a full-time person. The first individual would be part-time.
Sure. And these are already budgeted positions?
Yes, they're in the, well, we have FY25 now budget. Yeah.
Sure, perfect.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to appoint Mark Lopes as a part-time golf equipment operator effective upon qualification on or about September 18, 2024. And I move to appoint Robert Layport as a full-time golf equipment operator effective upon qualification on or about September 18, 2024, both at a rate of $18 an hour.
A second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Oh,
Easy enough.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbles.
Evening.
Right. Now we are going to talk about special fall town meeting warrant. I think we came to a final agreement on who to put on the warrant, but we did expand upon it. If you guys remember correctly, we had spoken about the different options we'd have for the school articles. What we ended up doing is we asked Mr. Kelly to add pretty much duplicates of the articles that were presented by the school committee, but also rewritten to reflect a Prop 2.5 override or debt exclusion. After digging into the finances and really trying to break down how much this would cost on the ban and bond, it is looking like the only way to do this is going to be through a debt exclusion. That's how I personally see it, unless somebody's willing to take a drastic hit to a budget. But I did want to let everybody know that the reason why there are 4 articles that basically say the same thing for the 2 articles needed, it's for the different funding sources that we have to tackle. Is that correct, Mr. Kelly?
Well, the fact that as originally written, the money would have to come out of the operating budget, which, as you know, we were $1.2 million in deficit until we did our cuts last year. And so the only viable way is through a debt exclusion. And since we don't have final numbers yet, it's a worst case situation. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think a big part of this is really opening my eyes personally to digging in to see if there's any alternate ways of approaching this. And I think no matter what, now that we've been in communication myself, I've been in constant communication with Patrick over at school. I think no matter what, we're not going to have the information we need for either of these until the day of town meeting, which is obviously going to be too close to review before we actually vote on this at town meeting. But I also think that we need to open up the conversation about expanding what we should tackle, and we got to see if there's another way that we can address each of these issues individually. We break it down that way. There just might not be a possibility that we can do this directly in one shot like they want to, which I think I understand the reasoning behind it. They're trying to save time, they're trying to save headaches by having it all encompassing, but due to the town's budget, we might have to split these projects up and not take this particular path forward. But I am committed to trying to figure out this problem and solving it. I just think we have to get creative and come up with some more options.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think first and foremost, getting it right for the people that we serve is incredibly important to me, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure that getting it right for the people that we serve is coming in 2 weeks ago, having a 20-minute, half an hour Zoom meeting with a company, an HVAC company, telling us what we actually need to do. And, you know, buying their products and them doing this project start to finish. I honestly think that this project should be reviewed by an outside independent firm to let us know, the townspeople know, what it is that's actually needed, not a company trying to sell their product, right? That's my problem with it, and the lack of education that this board has had from the school department, school committee, trained to spend $4 million, that's a lot of money. So I agree that we should be looking at different avenues. I also firmly believe that we need an independent consultant to come in and review exactly what's been presented to the schools and give their honest assessment on how we get that done, right? I don't think from one summer to another summer is a big overhaul to ask when you're trying to spend $4 million or even $3 million, whatever that number may be, right? But to throw it out in front of us 2 weeks ago, try to digest that, I firmly believe an independent contractor / engineer to do a complete review of this. I think it's well worth the time. Whether it's gonna cost money or not, we can come up with those funds to do that and represent the people that we serve, right? A little bit more properly than rushing something to judgment and saying, we're just doing this and not being able to educate the people of the community long enough and hard enough, right, to vet this process out. So, however we go about doing this on town meeting, it is what it is, but that's how I feel. I strongly feel that it should be vetted out longer period of time. I know they bought air conditions and dehumidifiers and things of the like last year or whatever. They used that process for one more year, from this summer to next summer, to get the project done, whatever that project looks like, so be it, right? Mr. Chairman, the town administrator's got his hand.
Mr. Kelly?
Also, just the logistics of it, and if you're going to do a debt exclusion and scheduling the vote on the articles for the debt exclusion as it relates to an election, which the closest one that we could feasibly do is the town election. And you have to have a vote on the article, those articles within 90 days either side of the election. It might make more sense to have the board schedule the vote on the debt exclusion prior to the vote on the articles. But either way, it has to be within a 90-day window of when the electorate vote. And I think the logistics of it and educating the public about the impacts of it are to the extent that the vote on the debt exclusion, which I think is the only valid funding source, whether it's an advisable funding source is an entirely different.
Correct.
But it's the only valid funding source, because I don't think the operating budget could take a hit of $300,000.
And even if we could find $300,000 this year, we can't guarantee it's
I
It's
don't
gonna.
not
think you
fe-
could find it.
It's not feasible for 20 years, right?
I don't think you could find it $300,000 over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Just because of, I know the work this board did on looking at the revenue figures and then looking at the budget, and there isn't that much room.
No. Yep.
That, a major concern of mine, which I brought up at the last meeting when the school was here, is the warranty on that brand new roof, right? That's a major concern of mine. And I think from this board's needs to have that in writing from whoever did the school roof, right? Saying that they'll fully warranty it no matter who's up there doing whatever they're doing. I don't see how any company would honor that warranty, not knowing who's gonna be up on that roof and what they're gonna be doing. And 5 years later, you got leaks and that company's gonna come in and say, yeah, no problem, we'll warranty that. I've never seen that in my lifetime with any kind of things that I've done in the business world, so maybe perhaps somebody's willing to do that, I don't know, but it can't be a verbal, it's gotta be a written document,
Written
right?
document.
So we just spent 2.5, 2.6 on a school roof. This board was very creative on how we were gonna fund our share. MSBA funded 53%, whatever it was of that project. We were very creative on how we were gonna pay for it, not to do a debt exclusion or override on our taxpayers. Look, that doesn't mean that if we're given enough opportunity and time to think this thing through, maybe we could be creative in the future, but having something like this presented to us and saying it's gotta be done, in a rush, $4 million rush. We spent $5 million building a police department, right? And that's a whole building, a whole facility. To spend 3.5 or $4 million on air conditioning and some other Mickey Mouse operations, I don't know, they said something about an envelope, that all needs to be done, great, let's do all of that work too, right, and see where we're at. But to spend 3.5, $4 million bucks on phase 1, as it's called, that's never even been vetted to this board either, right? How many phases are there, first of all, right? And what are the overall total costs of all the phases? It's never been discussed with us.
Correct, and I think that's gonna be broken down more on that report that we're expected to get on September 30th. But once again, I mean, September 30th is the same day as town meeting. So I'm not gonna vet an entire
No, not even a
report
check.
in the morning of town meeting. I'm probably gonna be focusing on preparing for town meeting. So I'm not even gonna be able to address that, and I'm sure you guys have other things to do morning of town meeting too. I'm not saying we don't wanna read it, but we definitely need the time to read it correctly, ask the questions based on that report, and make the right decision to make sure we're doing it the right way and protecting the taxpayers and the students and the teachers. You know, I think there's a way we can get through this, but I think rushing it, like you said, is definitely not something that is going to be possible whatsoever. Mr. Kelly.
In addition, this whole thing is a package that includes a number of grants. And if the package is going to be delivered September 30th, you don't know the individual requirements of each of those grants.
Yes.
And you don't know what the town's going to be on the hook for. So you're going to have to digest all of that too.
That's the other thing, and I think part of the time frame involved some of those grants, because I do believe one of the major grants they were looking for, it has to be applied for by October, and you can't apply for it unless you have a performance contract. So I understand their reasoning for that, but sometimes you gotta say, you know, is it worth rushing into something to save a little bit here? And I'm sure next year, even if we push this a little bit further and figure out a different way to do it, there's still gonna be grants available, just different ones. And we'll work on that too. I just want to make sure that we don't set ourselves up for failure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr.
Can I go
Gaspar.
back to Article 13 and
Yes, sir.
ask a question? It doesn't appear that we're capping Article 13, which is the expenditure of $186,026 out of the school special ed reserve fund. On the article, there's an explanation that says the amount of money, but the way the article's written, it doesn't look like there's a cap. So I think that might have changed from a previous draft article. So I just asked that question.
There's a cap on how much money you can put into that fund.
Yeah, he's talking about the article itself, reading 186,026.
So it says it in the explanation, but I believe it used to say in the old draft warrant that we had, it said 186, but now it says without further appropriation for anticipated on unbudgeted costs of special education and recovery of high school programs, out of district tuition, transportation, or the unaction relative thereto. But it doesn't mention the amount, so I don't know if the motion's gonna have the amount.
The motion can, but there is a question that the FinCom has on this article on whether it should be put forward now or whether we should wait until the spring and see the exact amount needed. And that discussion's ongoing.
It's a valid question, right? Don't know how that works within the school department, but it's a good point by the finance committee, so. I'm just concerned about the way it's written. It says that they can just take the whole 329, whatever we have in there, right? And do what they want with it at that point. There lies the problem. And we want to make sure that can't happen, so you're not depleting that stabilization.
So that would be for the motion, if the article goes forward now or is postponed till the spring.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah, as long as, I mean, if they get some clarification from FinCom, as long as the motion is direct and has that figure included.
I've got, the motion I've drafted has a figure in it, but FinCom even questioned that amount.
It's a valid concern.
I mean, the questioning was versus the money they used to balance the budget last year versus what they actually need.
Did we print all the copies for town meeting? Because under the index of articles, I'm happy to say that we don't have a page 176, but in this copy that I received, it says page 176. I think it should just be 17.
That was fixed.
That was fixed.
That's what?
It was fixed before it went to the printer.
Okay, just saying what's on my sheet.
I got 17.
You do?
I think you promised, Kevin.
Okay, that's fine, as long as it's, we can make the correction on town meeting floor. I'm just bringing it in case we went to, we didn't blast them all off yet.
Gentlemen, any other questions on any of the other warrant articles?
Not at this moment, sir.
All right, I am going to ask for selectmen's announcement. Oh,
Mr.
Kelly.
Chairman,
Yeah.
just for the board's edification, I've met twice with the town moderator. We've discussed a couple of the motions, and we are looking at probably the beginning of the week, next week, to have finished all the motions and sent them hopefully Friday to town council.
Perfect.
This week, Friday, and so the board would have them, hopefully, as long as town council does the turnaround Monday or Tuesday.
Up to the right and to the left. Sorry.
No worries. Give directions.
Trying to give him directions. Yeah, he'll probably get lost, but that's all right. Maybe.
Excellent.
Hopefully he'll figure it out.
Yeah. We're going to jump to selectmen announcements if anybody has anything.
I do not, other than just support your local farmers, right? They got their stands out there selling apples and the remainder of their crop, so if you can and you wish to, please stop by and support your local farmers. It's important.
Excellent. And I would just like to say a very happy birthday to my oldest daughter, Beatrix. She turned 10 today. I never expected I'd have a 10-year-old. It's pretty awesome.
You just rang a bell. And I'd like to wish Selectman Wona a happy birthday. I know it's not his birthday today, but in the upcoming days, it'll be his birthday. We won't be able to see you, I'm sure, but so happy birthday, Selectman Wona. Enjoy your day.
Excellent.
Happy 21st.
Yeah, there you go.
Speed limit.
All right, gentlemen, we should recess for a couple of minutes before this whole hearing. Until Anthony shows up. I need to make a motion for a recess or just say recess?
Yeah.
Motion for
Is there a motion
recess.
to recess?
So moved.
Motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. It is 5 PM. We are at our appointment stage here. We have some public hearings that are open and were continued to today, which is September 17th, 2024 at 5 PM. 4 total. First one is WO 124-57056. We have an MA 2024-22, an MA 2024-23, and an MA 2024-25. First one here is an Eversource poll hearing petition. Is the 124-57056 to install approximately 742 feet of conduit and 3 new manholes in Wing Lane, 322 feet of conduit, 1 new JO pole, 2 new manholes in Hathaway Road. These proposed locations are necessary to provide a new circuit installation from Eversource Wing Lane Station. Gentlemen, I've spoken multiple times with various people in the know in this, and the location of this is actually up near my house. Is there anybody from the neighborhood that would like to speak on these? nobody here for this one. Gentlemen, I'm okay with this one if you are. We are provided with all the documents in here. Anthony gave us all our information. And I would take a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The following three. I have MA 2024-22, MA 2024-23, and MA 2024-25. Gentlemen, I think we just were provided with a list of some double polls and some more information. Until we get a plan in place for this, I would ask for a motion to continue those three till March 11th at 5 PM in the Selectmen's meeting room.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And finally, this one has not been opened. This is a petition MA 2024-40 from Verizon New England Incorporated and M-Star Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy, proposing to place new facilities, pole 104/55.5 on Middle Road, install one joint-owned bid span pole on the east side of Middle Road, which will be approximately 865 feet southwesterly from the center line of Paris Lane. The new pole will be installed in line with and approximately 86 feet south of existing pole 104/56 and approximately 106 feet north of existing pole 104/55. The installation is being requested by Eversource to support the existing pole line. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And is there a motion to continue that to March 11th at 5 PM in the Selectmen's meeting room?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? No?
You've got to close the public.
Oh, we gotta close the public hearing for the first one. Is there a
Or
motion?
continue the public hearing.
Continue the
sorry.
public hearing.
That's what I just did for that one, correct? Okay.
We need a vote.
Yeah, didn't we just do that? I said, is there a motion to open? Is there a motion to continue to March 11th at 5 PM?
I didn't hear the
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah, we continued that one, but we gotta close the first one, correct?
What we just voted on?
The one we
The
approved.
first one.
Is there a motion to conclude, is there a motion to close the public hearing for Eversource poll hearing petition WO number 124-57056?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Mr. Anthony, I think you had something to say.
Sure. Anthony?
Mr. Chairman, can I come up?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I just wanted to, if you guys had 5 minutes, I just wanted to explain a little bit about the bigger scope
Sure.
and how we're trying to tackle some of the double pole issues in town.
Sure.
If-
I will always listen to that story, Anthony.
Thanks. Let me just give you that this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some of you have seen that before, but I just wanted to review it again, sort of the big picture scope of the work. Eversource, so in the region, essentially, we're at capacity for solar distribution, like industrial scale solar, right? So we went to the DPU, we petitioned them. We call this a Group 1 project. It's to increase solar distribution energy resource capacity in the South Coast region, basically from Marion to Freetown. We have 4 towns that are getting substation upgrades: Acushnet, Rochester, Mattapoisett, and Fairhaven. 2 of those are basically doubling the size. 2 are basically staying the same. Wing the Lane and Acushnet's on that list. It's staying within the footprint, but the petition that was approved tonight, which I really appreciate, that's an underground service because we're essentially adding a second circuit coming out of that substation. That's the reason why you're seeing replacement pole sets at a higher level, 50 feet. On those poles, there are now going to be 2 circuits. So, but what you're looking at in that map, we've been working with Verizon to try to split the work up into different segments, different projects. So the red line is priority number 1. We call that the Acushnet cluster. We're giving you guys brand new wire reconductoring. So it's a heavier cable, hence the taller poles. And on those poles, there's going to be 2 circuits, one under each other. As part of that too, you're also going to get new equipment, new transformers, new reclosers, new switch gear, This increases the reliability, resiliency, redundancy. So let's say there's an outage, right? I think 6 weeks ago, I'll use Mendel Road for an example. A car hit a pole. We had to turn off 1,000 people for safety. Now imagine if instead of turning off 1,000, we only had to turn off maybe 100 because we have switchgear in place to switch a circuit around. That's sort of the onus to do some of this work. It's a lot of coordination, a lot of behind the scenes with Verizon. The priority is the cluster, that's the red line. We've worked with them to say, set only the main street first. Let us knock that out. Then we can move on to project number 2, which is either Mendel Road or one of the other streets. And we're trying to do that in order to not inundate the town with a bazillion double poles at once. And we just think that's the best way to approach it. It's taken a long time, it's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of work, but we're doing the best we can, and we're trying to do that as quickly as possible. So on that sheet that I gave you, you can see it's 188 pole replacements, but there's 10 new poles. And I also want to put this on the record that if those poles get staked out, it's Verizon's responsibility because it's a Verizon said town. But just because a homeowner sees a pole staked out on their property doesn't mean we can't move it. We can move it. We have some flexibility. I'd say 10 feet to the left, to the right. I don't want people to feel like it's. If you guys just give me a call and say, Anthony, this pole too close to a driveway, too close to something, just call me. Yep. I'll be out immediately. We have flexibility to move it within a few feet.
Sure.
So. I just want to make some of that stuff clear, and if there's any questions, feel free to ask, but I just wanted to put it on the record and sort of clear up some of the confusion.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. But I think my biggest, I don't even want to call it a concern, Anthony, because, and I thank you for this, you've always answered every phone call and every email, which is very helpful. I just want to kind of get to a point where anytime we do have a petition for a poll hearing, it's directly involving the priority projects.
Right.
I don't want to start seeing poll hearings all over town, one over here, one over there, one over here, one over there, because it's really hard for us to keep track of this. We got to drive from one end of the town to the other, see where they're staked out, then we got to make sure we advertise for a public hearing. So if we keep it priority level, and you keep in constant communication with this office along with Verizon, whoever's setting it, and we can do that, I'd much appreciate that. Just it makes our job a lot easier, especially if we have residents continually asking us what's going to be done with the double poles. Why are these still here? How come they can set these poles next to these other poles, but they need to do this?
Right.
Why are they putting in my bay window?
Sure.
When we have 6 or 7 poll hearings at once, that we're getting hit with that aren't even a necessary thing to do right now, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for us to communicate with the public.
Totally
So
understood.
as long as you stay in contact with us, that's all I
Yep,
ask.
happy to do so. And for the permit that we got tonight, it's all underground work. There's only one pole set, and we fully own that pole.
Yep.
But I just want to make sure, and I'll reach out again to do a pre-construction meeting before we start this. I don't know when we're going to start, but I'll get back with scheduling and planning, because I think that'd be very important. Even though there's not a lot of folks that live in this area, but it'd still be very helpful for them to know when we're going to start and what the plan of attack is for that
Sure.
underground work.
Yeah. Is that the one that's going to coincide with the other project that you had that was postponed that we were going to do in July?
I think that's Wing Road, right?
Yeah, so on
Yep.
Wing Road through the S-curve, Wing
Right.
Lane's on the right, Hathaway goes straight.
Exactly, yeah.
So digging through your map here, it looks like it pretty much coincides with that project.
Yeah, we're not gonna, I'll get back to gas and
Okay.
electric, make sure we don't do them at the same time. So
Okay.
there's nowhere for anybody to go.
That's one of my concerns was, we're already at a situation where being a main road, we can't close it down completely,
Right.
like we had discussed. So I'd hate to see half a road taken up and then on the other side, there's somebody trying to set a pole.
Sure, understood.
Good. Gentlemen,
Got nothing, Mr. Chairman?
go.
Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.